In any large population, there's going to be diseases, some more unusual than others. Medical Notes by Terry Pratchett. Read by Karl. From Household Medicine, Hair Care, and Simple Surgery. Published by the Ankh-Morpork Guild of Barber Surgeons. AM $2. Discworld, while hosting a large number of well-known plagues and other ailments, also boasts, if that is a word, a number of medical conditions of its own. In Ankh-Morpork in particular, population measures helped to create a whole range of completely original yet curiously familiar complaints, such as attention surplus syndrome. Teachers find this just as bad as the other sort. No one likes a child who pays attention too hard, whose eyes follow your every move, and who listens very carefully to everything you say. It's like talking to a great big bottomless eater. Advanced cases correct spelling and pronunciation in a clear piping voice, and point out errors of facts to the rest of the class. They also have the infuriating habit of reading all the way to the end of the classroom reader on the first day of term, instead of having decency to read at the geological speed considered correct for the rest of their age group. Expel at the earliest opportunity. Floribundi's syndrome. Erratic and uncontrollable attacks of politeness and good manners. This may not at first sight appear to be an affliction, but can be deadly if you're a fish porter, a prisoner, a trooper, or a member of some other profession where incivility is bloody well expected. So called after Sergeant Major Charles Blossom Floribundi, who in times of stress lost control of his vocabulary and, for example, refused to fire at any enemy he hadn't been introduced to. He was pensioned off when the entire barracks mutinied after being called "you quite vexing gentleman." As Corporal Harry Sharpie Pointer said afterwards, no one minds being called up of a ing, but that sounded like he ing meant it. What does ing vexing mean anyway? Annoia, or paranoia inversa. The belief that you are out to get everyone. This is extremely rare amongst people who are not Dark Lords or similar, since those that by profession are indeed out to get everyone do not count. However, Mrs. Everett Pewter of Dolly Sisters did visit her doctor complaining of feelings that she was oppressing people, spying on them, reading their mail, picking at their thoughts via strange waves, and so on. After extensive tests at Unser University's Department of Invasive Medicine, it was found that Mrs. Pewter had in fact been born as one of them, but had not been taught to use her powers. The them is a secret, unknown, but certainly suspected organization of people whose job it is to interfere with everybody else, ruin their lives, and in short, mess up the world and then go home laughing. She sought advice about declaring herself as one of them. It was explained to her that doing so would involve wearing hooded black robes, conducting secret meetings in vast underground caverns, and manipulating the destiny of millions on a 24-hour basis, possibly involve funneling a fluffy white cat. She realized this would mean missing bridge club on Wednesdays, and since in any case cats gave Mrs. Pooter a hay fever, he opted instead for a amalgam of willow bark from whenever the voices in her head got too bad. Planets. Enable peculiar to people working conditions of stress in high magical environments. This can sometimes cause a breakdown in the hereditary circuits which prevent every individual's belief that he or she is the center of the universe from being broadcast to the universe at large. These result in the small imaginary planets will appear and begin to orbit the sufferer's head. Strictly speaking, the whole universe will eventually begin to orbit them as well, but the effect is so slight it is in practice restricted to small items within a few feet. History records that the wizard Aurora T. Williams suffered from chronic planets for several years, and one of them developed quite an advanced civilization which sent a small fleet of flying ships to colonize his head. A helpful and caring man, for some years he never wore a hat. Scroopism. Many people know about Thomas Bowdler, who published an edition of Shakespeare's works with all the offensive bits cut out. Few remember male infant Scroop, who had an overwhelming urge to add rude bits to books and songs not originally intended to contain any. This began at quite a young age, with the scrolling of words like niggers and bum in the margins of his school books. His problem was exacerbated by a lifelong inability to spell. After receiving a large legacy at the age of 21, he was able to reprint entire books that had been scrooped. These were substituted for the publisher's copies, which they otherwise resembled in every respect, when bookshop staff were not looking. For several months, the only result was a noticeable upsurge in the sale of certain titles. Things came to a head, however, when Miss Epitheme Slaybill's small, privately published volume entitled Thoughts from a Country Garden won several highly contested literary awards and was praised by a judge for its bold and controversial stance on the subject of primroses. Mr. Scroop died aged 84 and is buried in Small God Cemetery, Ankh-Morpork. His tombstone, including the inscription, may be inspected by proud arrangement with the head gravedigger, since in deference to public opinion it is kept wrapped in plain brown paper. Sinuses. A minor but chronic ailment was causing sufferer to groan and sometimes run away at the sight of anyone holding more than 3 books. Brandy has been found to relieve the symptoms, possibly with the addition of more brandy. Bursaritis, chronic continence. The illusion you've brought hundreds of people a long way in order to celebrate something that doesn't really exist. Symptoms are manic depression, a fixed waxy smile, and a tendency, unless physically prevented from doing so, to sell t-shirts at people. Those afflicted may shout things like, "Only 1,978 mugs to sell before we break even." Warning. Sufferers may spontaneously combust if woken suddenly from their trance-like state, and it's best to humor them until they wake up of their own accord. Be kind to these people. It's not their fault. These notes were supplied by Dr. Peristyle Slack, Ankh-Morpork Guild of Barber Surgeons. Come to us for a close shave. The end.